everyone, welcome again to what seems to be turning into a little series. So in the two first, shall we say, episodes, I have firstly explored the Van Gogh palette. So this is his early palette, pre-Impressionism stage. So it developed quite interestingly, where first he started painting in quite sort of the classic way of it, which was the dark colors. So it would be grays and blacks and browns and dark greens and muddy colors, all of that, which this palette represents it perfectly. In the second episode, we have then mixed the colors to see a rough kind of to get a rough idea of all the colors you could get, or some of the colors rather. So of course we're doing the watercolor equivalent to oil paints, so keep that in mind. Oil paints behave differently, and I just thought it'd be interesting to see what it would be like to paint in the colors that Van Gogh painted. Today I'm going to finalize this palette by just mixing a color wheel and looking into a bit of color theory. And I think what I'm going to do to continue this bit of series is then also share with you his watercolor palette that then developed when he started painting in those beautiful bright yellows, bright greens, and the turquoises you can see as well, teal colors, with loads of color and loads of light and vibrancy in there. So we will look at that palette soon as well. So today I thought for my yellow I will pick the yellow ochre, the Schmincke's one that I have here. For my red, obviously I will pick the only red that's here, which is the Vermilion hue. It's by White Nights. And for my blue, of course, it's going to be the Prussian Blue. And in a way we already kind of looked at the certain mixes here, but I just wanted to put it into a color wheel. It always makes things easy. If you want to know how I created this color wheel, I used this little tool, which we might remember from our school days. There is a video which I'll link up here in this corner for you, where I show you exactly how I create these very easy but neat looking color wheels. Okay, let's start. So Schmincke yellow ochre. I'm going to again try to figure out how to do this because the palettes are quite big. So I'm gonna get a brush that's not going to hold too much water, and that would be my brush of choice, the Jackson's Quill brush 100. Try to check out links if you have any questions in terms of what I'm using, unless of course I have forgotten to put something down, but generally I try to kind of mention everything that I use in the videos. So yellow ochre, it's this color right here. So a basic color theory, if you're completely new to it, it's the three colors which are called primaries. If you have those three colors, in theory you could mix any color you want. But to have a wider range of colors that you can mix, it depends on what those three primaries you pick. So if you pick something more vivid, like the modern printer colors, the cyan, the magenta, and that sort of like a lemon yellow, they will give you a more vibrant and a wider range of things to mix. If you're going to pick colors that are slightly more muted, like in our case, they will give you a less range. So we're going to be going back to sort of limited color palette. But as it is like that, just placing these colors together next to each other without mixing, you can see they go really well together. So I will leave it at that, and then the colors that we will put in between, those will be the mixes, and the mixes, they're called secondaries. So you use the primary three colors, yellow, red and blue, to mix your secondaries. So in this case it would be yellow and blue makes green, blue and red makes purple, and yellow and red makes orange. So that's the basic idea. Okay, so then let me go for the blue. Prussian Blue. We had a little conversation in the previous video where, yes, indeed, the Schmincke Prussian Blue is quite light, and it's sort of, it has that soft look. It's a beautiful color as it is coming out of a pan, but if you like more oomph to your color, the Daniel Smith is a good one. It looks quite different. I wonder if I can pull out my Daniel Smith palette. Hold on. I urgently need to sort out my, there we go. Look at that Prussian Blue compared to the Schmincke's one. It's a lot more saturated, a lot more. When I say pungent, I don't mean it smells. I mean it's sort of pungent in the color saturation, like it punches you. Okay, so yeah, I definitely need to sort out my studio. It's to say it's a mess, it's quite an understatement. I have been working on a few things, and generally, if I work on an online course or projects behind the scenes, things have to be left where I left them for me to come back to it and film next day, etc., etc. So then at the end of that project, my room needs a big tidy up. And maybe if I get to the tidy up, I might be able to finally film a studio tour for you, because I know quite a few of you have been requesting it, and I love watching studio tours. Irid, if you're watching, please film yours. I would love to see all of your art supplies and everything. Okay, so here we go. We have Vermilion. So the Vermilion here was this color. So Vermilion by nature is quite a opaque color. As you'll see in the next video, which I haven't filmed yet, but I'm intending to, the yellows that Van Gogh added to his later palette, they were a lot brighter than these ones here, and that of course allowed him to paint those beautiful sunflowers which have so many different yellow colors in there, but those yellows are glowing. They have that beautiful vibrancy. And I think one of his quotes was something along the lines of yellow's the color of sun, or something like that. Okay, so that was very easy. So what I'm going to do next is mix the colors in between. So then we have this color here and at the bottom, and those I'm thinking of introducing the white and then the black. So we're going to mix these colors with white and then the black. But for now, I just want to focus on mixing colors. So I'm just going to grab my tray, mixing tray from the White Nights, and clean up one area here. The White Nights palette doesn't come like this anymore. This is the old school palette. I'm not sure if it's the original, like probably not the very first one, but I'd imagine it was maybe one of the upgrades, but they don't do them like this. They have updated them, and I like my original one. So let's see, we're going to go into that yellow ochre, add the vermilion. So I'm just going to add a little bit just to see. Both of these colors going to create that sort of, I don't want to say muddy look, but definitely an opaque. So let's see. What I'm trying to mix here is a middle color in between these two. Anyway, I'll go in like that. I'm going to pick up this color here, like so. And then Vermilion is also by nature more of a opaque color, so it's not as transparent. So both of them are going to make a creamy, opaque mixture. There you go, so that's kind of the color in between those two. Now I'm going to look at mixing the red and the blue. Here again, I'm expecting some muddy colors because we already done it in the previous video. These two are not going to mix a pretty color, like a pretty purple. They tend to neutralize each other into this sort of mess. But let me see if I can add maybe a bit more of the Prussian Blue. No, we're just going into these sort of darker grey colors. So I'm going just to swatch it out here. In fact, what I should do is add white at the end, so I don't need to mix up this color again. Okay, so that's that, and then a touch of white. So with adding the white, we then get to this pastel version of the color. There you go. And I think I'm just going to put some music to it and let you enjoy the swatching, and then we'll come back at the end and look at it a bit closer. Alright, so here it is, the palette of Van Gogh in his pre-Impressionism era. So what we can see is that obviously the first outer circle is already not very bright, but we could get some greens and some oranges, not so much a purple. It just both of those colors just neutralize each other because it's a warm toned red that's quite opaque, so it's going to have that, you know, neutralizing effect. So if you put orange and blue together, they will neutralize each other. So that is why this is happening here. If we're looking at the middle circle, we can see the pastel tones of the same color, so that probably was quite useful. And then finally the dark makes the whole thing even darker, and so you can imagine that it was impossible to paint bright and vivid colorful paintings with this color palette. So let's explore in the next video the palette which he moved to and what kind of colors we could get out of that palette. Thanks for watching. See you soon.